Paint stick.
What's up guys, Zach from the Rolling Times here. As you can see behind me, the Jetta is mostly back together. Unfortunately, it's going to have to come back apart again. As you watch this video, you'll see me doing setting the timing chains up and everything. What's up guys, it's Zach from the Rolling Times, and today we're going to be setting timing on a Mark III VR6. I just put the head and head gasket on last night, so now we're going to be timing. Before I get started and too heavy into things, there is a very instructional video by Humble Mechanic on doing this procedure. If it's your first time doing this and you want to do it the right way, I would watch his video and pay attention to what he's doing. I'm doing some of the stuff not by the book, but we're going to hope this thing runs. Alright guys, so the first thing you're going to want to do is set the engine to the top dead center. You can do this by looking at the crank pulley. There is a notch on the engine block and there's a notch in the pulley. It is a small notch. And what you want to do is line those up, and then you'll actually want to back that off about 1/8 of the crank so you can set your cams. The correct way to do this is get the VR6 cam lock tool. I don't have one of those and I'm trying to get this done today, so we're going to kind of do this half-ass. I just locked the cams with 2 wrenches. If you look, the cams are slotted and it's not directly in the center, so there's only one way that the tool is going to fit in there. So hopefully this gets it close enough. Timing might be off a tooth or two, but as long as the valves don't clash with the pistons, we should be alright. And then over here we're going to start hooking up the chains and guides. So the lower chains and guides are okay, and I didn't have to unhook them for doing the head gasket and the new head. So everything should be good down there. And then the lower chain comes around the intermediate shaft, and then that has another pulley on it to put the upper chain on. So basically now that everything's set, I'm just going to throw the chain on and we should be good to go. Actually, after we got done with setting the timing chains up, we actually ended up pulling the front cross member and pulling the engine entirely out of the car. This caused a little bit more work, but it made it a lot easier to mate the transmission with the block. And then we got everything back in. I started hooking everything up, and as you'll see here, I attempted to start it numerous times just to make sure the thing runs before I finish putting everything back together. And unfortunately, I learned that sometimes it's not best to rig stuff together. Alright guys, this is the moment of truth. We're going to see if she fires up. Totally feel like I'm...
Take one, cut.
Take 2, cut. Alright, here we go. Take 369. Take 1,532. When I tried to start it, I couldn't figure out why the starter wasn't turning over. I thought maybe the battery I got was bad, so I tried jump starting it. I also tried putting a battery from my GTI in the car, and every time the starter would click, but it wouldn't turn the engine over. I tried turning the engine over by hand. I kind of feared the worst, that maybe it skipped timing while I was getting everything back together. But I didn't have time to videotape this because we were all real busy trying to get the engine in and out of the car that night. But when we did the clutch and pressure plate, we actually were missing 2 of the flywheel bolts. So my buddy brought some that were from a 2.0 ABA, and those are actually a little bit longer than the VR6 ones. At least I think that's what they were from. Either way, the 2 that we put in there, we had to space out with washers. Actually, we used nuts to space them out, but nonetheless, I thought about it, and those bolts are sticking out farther than the rest, and they must be getting caught on the bell housing. So I'm gonna have to pull the trans again, pull that back out of there, get the correct bolts. I'm not really that upset. I didn't get it right by doing that, and I didn't order the bolts right the first time, because either way I'd still be waiting on the bolts. So it's going to be a little bit more work, and I have to pull the trans back out, put the right bolts in, and then go from there and hope the thing fires up. Otherwise it's looking good. The other good news, I'll put in some clips here. I sold the Jetta, the Mark III, the primered one. So I bought this Jetta for 200 bucks with notary fees and everything. That put me up to about 300 bucks. I replaced cap and rotor. I did a fresh oil change on it, new fuel filter, new spark plugs, fixed some leaks on the intake, got it running better, and hopefully gonna sell it for $775. Cleaned up the interior a little bit. I'm gonna miss it. It was a fun car. Good for getting firewood. And I made some money off that. I bought it for 200 bucks. I had to pay $100 and some for the title transfer at the notary. I probably put $200 worth of parts into it. That might be a little high, but I did the fuel filter, I did the cap and rotor, did new spark plugs, I replaced the wheel cylinder that was leaking, and did an oil change on it. And I ended up selling it for $775, so I ended up making a couple bucks off of it. But yeah, I'm kind of sad to see it go. It was fun while I had it, but I did buy that car to fix and sell it. So we're making some progress here. I'm really hoping the next video I post will be of this thing running. I do got to get some parts for it. The driver's side knuckle and wheel bearing were destroyed. The driver's side axle was destroyed. The passenger side wheel bearing needs replaced. And the passenger side axle kind of got messed up when we took it out. So I'm thinking I'm probably just going to see if I can find used, or I guess maybe buy new some of the parts. But I need basically the drive shafts and steering knuckles and wheel bearings for the front of the car to get that back together. Once that's done, I'll be getting it out of here, getting the 273 bugs. That'll be a fun project. I do need to get the Passat up here. I have a TDI Passat that I sold to my brother, and that needs an axle, and then I can get that out of my yard and over to his house and let him tinker with it. It needs a couple other things, but the axle will get it moving. The GTI is running good, the 2OT. I was having an oil pressure issue with it, but it was a little low on oil since I did the turbo and everything. I added a quart of oil and it's been good since. Those things are notorious for having oil pump issues, so I'm hoping that it was just because it was low on oil, but I guess we're going to find out. The Corrado needs a water pump and really needs a tune-up and stuff, so I'm not trying to drive that anymore, and I'd really like to send it off for body work and paint once this Jetta's done. So I hope you enjoy my video. Stay tuned to find out the fate of this Jetta. Will it run? Let me know in the comments below.